provide you with the lowest per GB rates, night or day. SLT 4G, driving you ever forward.
Making headlines for First at 9. Continuous absence. Parliament convenes once more without members of the governing party.
Speaker's behaviour does not help to restore the democratic parliament. It is virtually bringing parliamentary democracy to a mockery.
The conducting of the session is similar to that of a session of a UNP pocket meeting.
Opposition, however, is in dismay.
Parliament has entered the record books because normally it's the opposition that walks out. The so-called government which should run the country, they are walking out.
So as far as we are concerned, we have passed no contest motion. Game over. Let them go.
The bond scam. The UPFA pledges to reveal a list of culprits involved in the scam. IGP in hot water. The Inspector General of Police will be probed for implicating the President in CRD Inspector Nishantha De Silva's transfer. Newly minted. The central bank issues a new series of cost-effective coins into circulation. Overwhelming support. Ukraine's parliament backs plans to impose martial law following Russian aggression.
Bike එකක් ගත්තොත් ෆෝන් එකක්. ඔව් තෝරාගත් Yamaha බයික් මාදිලි සඳහා රුපියල් 40000ක් දක්වා වටිනා ස්මාර්ට් ෆෝන් එකක් නොමිලේ. ඉක්මන් කරන්න නොවැම්බර් 30 දක්වා පමණයි. කොන්දේසි සහිතයි. අමතන්න 0117 699 699 AMW තින් පමණයි.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammike Kanayaka. Now let's start you off with your local stories. Now there have been much interest generated among the public on the parliamentary proceedings in the recently owing to the drama which unfolded, and today none of the parliamentarians representing the governing party participated in parliamentary session for a second day. Members of the governing party said that they came to the decision of in protest of Speaker Karu Jayasuriya's behaviour, which isn't constitutional. Although the parliamentary session was to be convened at 1 p.m. today, the parliamentary agenda did not indicate any of the day's proceedings by morning. It was in this backdrop that the parliamentary group meeting of the governing party was held at noon under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. Meanwhile, the parliamentary group meeting of the United National Party was held under the patronage of its leader Ranil Wickremesinghe. We can indeed work without an agenda. For that, we can present a current topic and debate it. Later, parliamentarians of the governing party decided at the meeting to not participate in today's session. We too don't accept this parliament, and that's why we won't participate in any of its sessions. We will participate in sessions once they start working in accordance with standing orders. If the Speaker wants to convene a parliamentary group meeting of the United National Party at the expense of the public, we will mind our own business. The Speaker has been caught red-handed for preparing fake documents, and we just don't trust him. The parliamentary session, chaired by Speaker Karu Jayasuriya, however, commenced at the scheduled time of 1 p.m. As announced, none of the parliamentarians representing the governing party participated in the session. Speaker continued with the proceedings despite the absence of the governing party. The entire mechanism of the country will be halted, and we will not be able to pay salaries of any of the public sector officials from the 1st of January if a legal Prime Minister and a cabinet are not appointed by then. So, Speaker, please intervene in the matter, speak with the President and ask him to establish a legitimate government without betraying the country. The President held discussions with journalists representing international media organizations. There he claimed that he cannot appoint me as Prime Minister because I was involved in the plot to assassinate him. This is a serious matter and an issue related to my parliamentary privileges. I asked the Speaker to summon the IGP to Parliament because it's been 48 hours since this allegation had been made. Ask them to arrest me or come before the Parliament and give their reasons.
You have very clearly stated that you do not recognize Honorable Mahinda Rajapaksa as the Prime Minister of this country. You have not recognized any member as a cabinet minister. However, I learned from the media that a group of MPs meet once a week and they take decisions to procure various items. They enter into various agreements with international organizations, companies as such, and they are trying to bring in various kinds of items to Sri Lanka, and various projects are being handed over to them, which is totally illegal.
Parliament is supreme and independent from the executive. Mr. Speaker, you have proved your mettle when you ruled that there was no government after the parliamentary vote. I would finally call upon the President to uphold the majority view of Parliament.
I believe the last 1 month we have seen a huge threat to our democratic and value-based system that Sri Lanka has enjoyed for the last 70 years. Certain remarks have been made about you which are entirely subjective. You have acted for the best interest of the majority of the parliamentarians in this House. The fact of the matter is they haven't got a majority. That's why they have not come here. So therefore it's very important that you as the Speaker communicate well with the people of this country about your actions, because there are a lot of misinterpretations being given about the particular role you had to play.
Under the present illegal government, tourism is on a self-destructive mode. The tourism of the country realistically was on track from 2015 to reach its target of 4 million tourists by the year 2022. The estimate that we had was that tourism income could be the highest income earner in foreign exchange in the immediate future.
Meanwhile, the office of the Leader of the House addressed a letter to the Speaker claiming that it will not accept the parliamentary proceedings on the 14th, 15th, 16th, 19th, 21st and 23rd of November, as these sessions were not held in accordance with the Constitution, standing orders or parliamentary norms. 9 parliamentarians, including the Leader of the House and the Chief Government Whip, signed the letter. In the meantime, a media briefing was held at the parliamentary premises today by members of the governing party to clarify their decision to boycott today's session.
The Honourable Speaker is acting arbitrarily against the standing orders, Constitution and the norms of Parliament. If you go through the order paper today, there are no subject for discussion. Usually in the order paper, you include some subject for discussion and thereafter you say the adjournment. Even the fact that you are adjourning the Parliament today is also not included in the order paper. This is a serious situation. It is an arbitrary decision of the Speaker to print an order paper of this nature. So therefore we are convinced that the Speaker is acting at the instructions of Sirikota. Therefore we can't follow his decisions. They are biased and wrong. Speaker has already declared that there is no Prime Minister, no government, no minister. Then how can a Parliament exist? Can Mr. Karujaya Surya show us any Parliament in the world without government? He has made Parliament a mockery because he is working on a political agenda. We can't be a party to that political agenda. We thought that without creating problems inside the House and bringing disgrace before the international community and before the nation, not to attend this session as a protest for the manner in which the Honourable Speaker, so-called Mr. Karujaya Surya, is acting.
Now, following today's parliamentary session, both government and opposition parliamentarians expressed their views to First at Night on developments from Parliament as well as the current political situation.
The Speaker has taken upon himself and printed an order paper which is blank. This order paper is a blank. It is a farce and an insult on Parliament. Any order paper of Parliament has to have adjournment, time of adjournment and any other items that the government would inform. The Speaker's behaviour does not help to restore the democratic Parliament. That's why the government group decided not to participate in these illegal activities of the Honourable Speaker, which is virtually bringing parliamentary democracy to a mockery. And we have boycotted even any other facilities that the Parliament has provided, including the normal visit of an MP to the restaurant also.
For 1 month we have had no work. It's a so-called government that must set the pace for business to run in Parliament. They have not bought a single bill, a single law, a single regulation. And we can't have a business committee meeting because the business committee meeting is to arrange business of parliament. So when there are no business, there are no reason for a business committee meeting. And our parliament has entered the record books because this is the first time in the history of any parliament. Normally it's the opposition that walks out. The so-called government which should run the country, they are walking out.
The conduct of the speaker is partial and the conducting of the session is similar to that of a session of a UNP pocket meeting.
We have today witnessed so-called government ranks with empty seats. Very sad about it. They come here, conduct a meeting at these so-called group meetings at these committee rooms. They do come to the chambers. What is the meaning? So they may not be able to succeed in completing any draft motions at the chambers. So either they should prove their majority, at least 113 is the magical number. Never in the history of Sri Lanka it has happened. So as far as we are concerned, we have conducted and passed a NCM no confidence motion in the parliament. All over, game over. Let them go home.
The identities of those involved and benefited from the controversial bond scam at the central bank could be revealed to the public. Addressing media in Colombo, UPFA parliamentarian Lakshmanya Abewardena said the relevant list of names will be made public within a period of 1 week. In the meantime, UPFA MP Arundika Fernando is of the view that the expansion of the Supreme Court judge bench to 7, which deliberates the case pertaining to the dissolution of Parliament, makes no difference since they respect the judiciary.
It is immaterial whether it's 7 bench or 5 bench. We are asking for justice. We want the justice from the Supreme Court. Now we have taken it up at the Supreme Court. We will argue on the 4th, 5th and 6th, the coming 3 days, and they will give the verdict on the 7th. So we are ready for this. We'll honor and respect whatever the verdict given by the Supreme Court. So we are ready for that.
The list of persons involved and benefited from the bond scam will come out within a period of 1 week. I know members of the UNP who are on roads participating in protests will go back home when those names are revealed. Parliament convened today without having an agenda for the day. There are 2 cases in courts. The contents of these cases is subject to change due to these parliamentary sessions. Until today, we saw only a conflict between the executive and the legislature. This plan is to create a conflict between the legislature, the judiciary, as well as between the executive and the judiciary. Therefore, the whole country must stress the need for a general election at this moment. Yet another rally of the United National Front was held in Kalutara today. It was held under the patronage of its leader, parliamentarian Ranil Wickremesinghe. Another rally organised by the United National Front, dubbed Yuktiye Hana, or the Voice of Justice, was held in Kalutara today. Leaders of the United National Front joined the rally. There was a public consensus that anything can be done if Gotabaya is involved. Where is he now? He is nowhere to be found. Some said the economy will be developed when Mahinda comes to power. Did he even vest the Hambantota port in the public? Did Bandula cancel the Singapore agreement? Leader of the United National Party, MP Ranil Wickremesinghe, also joined the rally midway through. A group of rogues are ruling the country. Them being in power is against the sovereignty of the people. There are votes of youth. We were there to protect the rights of the youth with J.R. Jayawardena. Join us to protect the rights of youth. We want to create an ethical political system and we will create a new country for you. We will Minister of Ports and Shipping, Cabinet co-spokesperson Mahinda Samarasinghe ensures that there will be an investigation pertaining to actions of IGP Pujit Jayasundara. It will probe the IGP's attempts to implicate President Maithripala Sirisena in the transfer of the officer in charge of the CID's Organised Crimes Investigation Unit, Inspector Nishantha De Silva. Minister Samarasinghe said that the IGP is strongly advised over the matter as he addressed a media briefing held at the SLP headquarters in Colombo.
There will be an investigation into this whole thing because the President denies, and if there is no proof to show that the President has instructed him to transfer someone like this Nishantha Silva, then obviously the IGP has to account. What I know is he has been strongly advised at the moment, and I suppose the next step would be a investigation to find out as to how he implicated the President's name in that whole thing, because when you read the letter, I mean, it's very unbecoming of an IGP to write a letter like that, because in the first half of the letter, he is basically exonerating this Nishantha Silva of any wrongdoing, saying that he's a professional, they've done everything satisfactorily, and then he says, the President has instructed me nevertheless to transfer him. So, I mean, I've never heard of an IGP writing a letter like that, let alone a normal public servant. That's insubordination more than anything else. So, I suppose the Defence Secretary will take whatever action that has to be taken. If there's an inquiry, a proper inquiry, and if he is found guilty and if he is indicted, then the administrative regulations come into play, and any public servant has to then step aside.
The inauguration ceremony of the 5th International Conference of the International Association of Theravada Buddhist Universities commenced in Colombo today. The opening ceremony was worked off under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena. The International Conference of the International Association of Theravada Buddhist Universities is organised once every 2 years with the aim of strengthening religious and cultural links between the countries participating Theravada Buddhism. This year, Sri Lanka hosts the conference with the participation of members of clergy representing 10 Theravada Buddhist countries and scholars. The President gifted a special memento to Most Venerable Ashin Yanisara Thera, the Chancellor of the Sitago University, Myanmar, and the Thera also gifted a statue of Lord Buddha to the President. In the meantime, the President made a donation of 6 million rupees towards the racing car which was manufactured to be entered into the Formula Student 2019 in Germany. The car is produced by a group of students of the Mechanical Engineering Department of the University of Moratuwa. Moving on to a rather sensitive subject, several functions to commemorate members of the terrorist group LTTE who perished during the 3-decade-long conflict were held in several areas in the northern province today. The police thwarted a similar celebration yesterday, which involved Northern Provincial Councillor M.K. Sivanjalingam. Today's LTT celebrations, however, did not feature LTT flags or emblems. Defeated terrorist group, the LTTE named the week from the 20th through the 27th of November each year as the Mavir Week to commemorate their members who died during the conflict. The celebrations stir controversy each year as masses condemn it as a celebration of terrorists. In such a backdrop, an LTTE commemoration was worked off in Kopai of Jaffna today with the participation of Northern Provincial Councillor M.K. Sivanjalingam. Meanwhile, Sivanjalingam oversaw another LTT commemoration ceremony of Jaffna in the region of Nallur. Commemoration of the terror group was also seen at an academic institution as some students of the Jaffna University also celebrated the fallen terrorists. Although LTT flags and emblems were seen in previous ceremonies, they were not to be seen in today's commemorations. The Permanent High Court trial at Bar today cancelled its previous decision to hear the case against former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa on the 4th of December. The case was taken up before the Permanent High Court judge bench comprising of Justices Sampath Abekon, Sampath Wijeratne and Champa Janaki Rajaratne this morning. Deputy Solicitor General Dileepa Pires stated that a majority of the documents which can be handed over practically have been handed over to the defendants and that only a few documents remain to be handed over. Since the defendants too agreed to this, the court then decided to nullify the decision to take up the case on the 4th of December and instead marked to call the case up on the same date to check the progress of document handover. The case against the former Defence Secretary and 6 others was filed by Attorney General's Department for the alleged misuse of state funds amounting to 33.9 million rupees when constructing the D.A. Rajapaksa Museum and Memorial in Madamulana. Now, we got business news on the other side of this break, so stay tuned.
Watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. The central bank today issued a new set of circulation coins in the denominations of 1, 2, 5 and 10 rupees. The smaller coins, which will come into circulation from December 3rd, are said to be designed to also enable easy identification by the visually impaired. The first set of the new coins was presented to Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, who is also the subject minister of finance. The central bank issued a new series of circulation coins with face value of 10 rupees, 5 rupees, 2 rupees and 1 rupee with the objective of reducing the cost of coins being minted, increasing the durability of coins while giving more portability to them. The first set of coins was officially presented to Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, who is also the subject minister of finance and economic affairs, by Governor of the Central Bank Dr. Indrajit Coomaraswamy. The coins will be issued into circulation from the 3rd of December through licensed commercial banks with the existing coins. In the meantime, a circulation standard commemorative coin with the face value of 10 rupees was also issued today to mark the 75th anniversary of Sri Lanka Army Signal Corps.
The minting of it has been done with cost savings of about 30%. All the coins now are of a standardized size. There are certain features which enable even blind people to be able to recognize the coins. Plus, there is a commemorative coin celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Sri Lanka Army Signals Corps.
Now, the Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Indrajit Coomaraswamy, says Sri Lanka is working to strengthen its data protection laws as data has become the new currency in the banking sector. Central Bank Governor made this remark while addressing the 22nd ACG Annual General Meeting organised by the Central Depository Systems this morning in Colombo.
Cyber risk is another challenge that requires close attention. Fintech innovations are generally connected to the internet. That means that core banking systems and other connected infrastructures are exposed to added risk. In the mission to find novel solutions, sometimes customer data can be inadvertently exposed, putting the whole financial system at risk. Therefore, it is vital that the technological design of the fintech solution is carefully assessed. For this reason, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka not only reviews the business process, but also the technological design. Fintech innovations have to be subject to information system audit reports to ensure their safety. Another risk is data security. Data has become the new currency. Many digital solutions provide free services in the exchange of customer data. Customer data is very valuable, and in financial services they are often confidential. Many fintechs design apps based on the free-to-use model, where their business model is based on generating revenue from customer data. This model has inherent risks when applied to financial services. For this reason, Sri Lanka is working to strengthen its data protection laws. Similarly, we must ensure that fintechs and financial institutions respect customer data and do not misuse them. As regulators, we cannot rely only on customer consent due to the systemic risks involved. Many times, customers are unaware of the gravity of what they are agreeing to and expect regulators to protect them. Therefore, a maximum effort is needed on the part of all the regulators to raise the awareness of the risks involved in data sharing among customers and their networks. We are also in the process of developing data security standards to ensure that we are in line with global needs for data protection.
Sri Lanka's capital market regulator, the Securities and Exchange Commission, says it is working on a framework that enables swift action against illegal activity in the market. Director General of SEC, Vajra Vijayagunawardena, speaking at a forum in Colombo, said that the ultimate aim is to put in place a regulatory framework within which swift and decisive action is the norm of the day and which serves as a credible deterrent to unscrupulous actors in the market. He was speaking at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Financial Regulators Training Initiative hosted by the Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka recently. The forum, titled Enforcement and Litigation, was attended by over 60 participants from local regulatory organizations as well as regional participants from Bangladesh, Indonesia, Philippines, Nepal, Thailand, Cambodia, Kazakhstan, Malaysia and Papua New Guinea. In equities, Colombo's all-share price index gained 0.48% on thin volumes, up 28.34 points to 5,971.41, while the more liquid S&P SL20 index closed at a sharp 1.01% higher. Market turnover was 460.7 million rupees, with net foreign selling at 53 million rupees, down from buying of 17.1 million rupees yesterday. With that, let's now take a look at a detailed report of the stock market.
In the bond market, the slight buying interest in the short tenor, the yield curve shifted slightly downward trend, while short tenor maturities in 1.520 and 1.321 and 1.5020 traded between 11.50 to 11.90 levels. Overall, market witnessed a thin volume ahead the weekly auction to be held tomorrow. But the stock market ended in the green for a second consecutive day. All share price index witnessed a continuous uptrend during the day and reaching an intraday high of 5,978 and prior to close at the day at 5,971, gaining 28 points.
And now to bring you a currency update, the Sri Lankan rupee closed weaker at a new low of around 180 rupees and 50 cents to 180 rupees and 90 cents against the US dollar in spot market today. Yesterday, the rupee ended at around 180 rupees and 10 to 30 cents against the dollar. Here's a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. Time to look at news from overseas. Now, Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko's proposal to impose martial law in parts of the country was met with overwhelming support in parliament. The 30-day order comes as Ukraine attempts to protect border regions vulnerable to potential Russian attacks. It all stems from Russia's seizure of 3 Ukrainian naval ships off the coast of Russia-annexed Crimea on Sunday. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin says that Ukraine is to blame for the confrontation in Crimea, as Moscow warned that the conflict could escalate because of the decision to declare martial law. Ukraine's parliament has backed a presidential plan to impose martial law in parts of the country after Russia captured 3 of its naval vessels and 23 crew members on Sunday. President Petro Poroshenko said the 30-day order would affect border regions vulnerable to potential Russian attack. Authorities can ban protests and strikes, and citizens could be called up for military duty. Russia's President Vladimir Putin expressed serious concern at the decision. Russian Coast Guard ships opened fire on Sunday as 3 Ukrainian boats sailed off the coast of Crimea, annexed by Russia in 2014. Several Ukrainian sailors were wounded in what Ukraine described as an act of aggression by Russia. Moscow said the ships had illegally entered its waters. Russian TV broadcast statements from some of the captured Ukrainian Navy men today. One commander was quoted as saying he realized his actions were provocative, and Russian TV claimed the Ukrainian operation had been carried out by the SUB security service. The naval clash is the first time Russia and Ukraine have come into open conflict in recent years, although Russian-backed separatists and Russian volunteers have been fighting Ukrainian forces in eastern Ukraine since 2014. Moving on to other stories, UK's ex-Defence Secretary Sir Michael Fallon says Theresa May's Brexit deal is doomed and must be renegotiated. Sir Michael launched a scathing attack on the proposed EU agreement, saying it was the worst of all worlds. Parliament will vote on whether to accept or reject the terms of UK's withdrawal and future relations negotiated by PM May on the 11th of December. British Prime Minister Theresa May pitched her Brexit deal to Parliament yesterday, saying that the deal will ensure a smooth and orderly departure from the EU in March of next year. May is now seeking to win over critics in her own Conservatives and opposition parties who have threatened to vote against it when Parliament is asked to approve the agreement.
By creating a new free trade area with no tariffs, fees, charges, quantitative restrictions or rules of origin checks, this deal protects jobs, including those that rely on integrated supply chains. It protects our security with a close relationship on defence and on tackling crime and terrorism, which will help to keep all our people safe. And it protects the integrity of our United Kingdom.
While the UK Prime Minister is trying to convince her own people on the deal, US President Donald Trump says the agreement allowing the United Kingdom to leave the European Union may make trade between Washington and London more difficult. Sounds like a great deal for the EU.
I think we have to take a look at seriously whether or not the UK is allowed to trade, because, you know, right now, if you look at the deal, they may not be able to trade with us, and that wouldn't be a good thing.
Now let's take a look at other stories making news across the globe. NASA's Mars Science Lander InSight touched down safely on the surface of the Red Planet yesterday to begin its 2-year mission as the first spacecraft designed to explore the deep interior of another world. Minutes later, controllers received a fuzzy selfie photograph of the probe's new surroundings on the Red Planet, showing the edge of one lander leg beside a rock. The landing capped a 6-month journey of 548 million kilometers from Earth following InSight's launch from California in May. Officials say hundreds of Australians have evacuated their homes due to bushfires amid unprecedented weather conditions in the state of Queensland. About 40 bushfires are burning across the state following a heatwave, with the most serious blaze 450 kilometres north of Brisbane, destroying at least 2 homes, damaging 4 others and prompting evacuation orders. The conditions have been described as highly unusual for this time of year. A wild elephant came into an inn in southwest China's Yunnan province uninvited and proceeded to enjoy a free buffet recently. The elephant's intrusion happened suddenly, but fortunately the owner of the inn handled the issue properly, so both the elephant and the customers at the inn were not injured. According to the amateur shot, the elephant entered the first floor lured by the smell of corn and oranges.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Time for sports. Now, 2 chess grandmasters have spent November locked in stalemate with the World Chess Championship up for grabs. After 12 games and 12 draws, American Fabiano Caruana is seeking to take the title from Norwegian Magnus Carlsen. After drawing their final match in London yesterday, they head to a series of fast-paced tiebreaks, culminating in a game type known as the Armageddon. If he wins, Caruana will be the first US world champion since Bobby Fischer in 1972. But in tomorrow's tiebreaker, he will again face a fierce title defense from Carlsen, who has been champion since 2013 and is the top-ranked player in the world.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Before we go, we'd like to take you to Calcutta, now, which is a hotspot for tourists from all around the world. Calcutta is a coastal resort town located 35 kilometers northwest of Batticaloa and houses a varied number of tropical fish and exotic coral reefs. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.